Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be touching on the very tricky topic of what has Chris Ingham done and how has he gotten away with it, or has he in fact gotten away with it? Now, a lot of you may know a lot of this information and some of you may not know any of it. So the reason why I'm doing this video is specifically so that it doesn't get lost in the time continuum or whatever, right? So those of you who have memory of what happened, don't forget what happened, right? And this is just to go over it so you don't forget and that you just remember it. Those of you who are maybe newer to this channel and newer to the situation may not know everything that Chris has done, or may not know actually what he did in the first place originally. So we're going to go over everything here, including all the messages, all the comments and everything to do with what Chris did originally in the first place, and the one or two other things which make him a really shitty person, right? So don't forget this. If you have any queries about any of this, this is all proven to be true, and if you are okay with what Chris did, then shame on you, really. Just read, listen, and follow what's going on, right? Don't be okay with people like Chris Ingham taking advantage of their very young fans and just running with it, right? So, without further ado, we're going to start where it all began. 2nd of July 2018, a young girl called Jess came out on Twitter with a statement, right, about Chris and what she did. We're going to go through what she said in her own words first, and then one or two of the screenshots. So Jess was just 16 years of age when Chris started messaging her, and she'd only just turned 16. That was the worst part of it, if there was any worst part of it, right? She was only just 16, like a few weeks older than being 15, if you know what I mean. So it was very on the cusp. And she came out in 2018 with her story of what happened when they went to Florida in October 2017. So this is what she had to say. She put this out on Twitter. I just want to start this off by saying at first I didn't want to tweet this. I hadn't told anyone and it happened 9 months ago. I've only decided to tweet this after speaking to someone who has helped me, and we didn't jump straight to the conclusion of exposing him. We messaged his wife but heard nothing back. I'm so scared to tweet about it, and I'm so sad because I adore the family. But if he did it to me, he may try to do it to other people, and I would hate that to happen. Basically, the Ingham family announced that they were going to be at Disney World at the same dates my family had booked, and then nearer the time he announced they had actually booked the same hotel as us, so I DM'd him like all excited asking if I could meet them. He said yeah, so on the second night they were there, and me and my 11-year-old sister went to meet them just outside the hotel, and we got photos and hugged and stuff, and I said how much their channel had helped me. Like, these people meet fans and viewers every single day, and on holiday they had already met loads, yet for some reason he posted the photo of me and my sister on every social media account they had, on both Instagrams and on both Twitters. And in the bio of it he said he only mentioned meeting me, not my sister, which I thought was odd, but like, he only had my social media, so I brushed it off. He started messaging me about like mental health and stuff because I had told him my struggles, but then he kept messaging me saying he went on walks around the complex after midnight, sometimes at 2 a.m. every night. He then kept asking me if I could sneak out of my family's hotel room to go for walks with him between midnight and 2 a.m. He messaged me multiple times saying how I was so beautiful and pretty and asking me why I didn't have loads of boyfriends at home. Bear in mind, this is a 30-year-old man with a wife and kids. And then he messaged me asking if I was alone in the hotel, and I stupidly said yes. And then he said how he was going to come to my hotel room for a party. I was so scared. I was sat in a hotel room alone in a foreign country at midnight. He said how we should sneak into the pool when it's closed, and how he was contemplating going skinny dipping. That's not to be underestimated, by the way. The fact that she was just 16 years of age, alone in a hotel room in a foreign country, and she's got this 30-something-year-old man saying that he's going to come around to her hotel room, irrespective of whether or not he's an influencer or whatever. That must be quite scary for a barely 16-year-old, right? She goes on to say, he also sent me a message saying, I wish I had seen your message sooner because I could have come and hooked up with you. And I don't know if that was innocent or not, or if I'm reading too much into it. He was encouraging a 16-year-old to sneak out of her hotel room between midnight and 2 a.m, and he even said himself that everyone else would be asleep. I would ask him to meet up around 8 p.m. instead, because we were on holiday. The hotel was so busy and alive at 8 p.m, as yes, I felt unsafe. But just in case anything happened, there would be loads of people around. And he would say, yeah, but he never meant it. It would roll around to 8 p.m, and I would just be sat there waiting, and I would just give up and go back to the hotel room, as he would ignore my messages, and then he would message me at like midnight trying to get me to sneak out again. It's like if he wanted to meet me because I was a viewer and just wanted to chat, he wouldn't do it like that. I've spoken to a couple of people about this and shown them the screenshots, and they have said I'm not overreacting. I felt unsafe on holiday, and it took over my once-in-a-lifetime holiday. I don't have the Twitter convo, as I hope you would understand that I deleted it from Twitter because of how it made me feel. I did some digging and found some of the DMs he sent me on my email, so the screenshots I found are below this tweet. So we go on now to one or two of the tweets that he sent, just as documentary evidence of what a sleaze he actually is, trying to get a barely 16-year-old to sneak out of her hotel room at midnight to meet him and go skinny dipping. That's what he said. Or to have a party in her hotel room whilst she was alone. So the first one says, I'm coming over for a party. Then he says, contemplating skinny dipping, and it is chilly tonight, or chillier. Then there's definitely I can make you feel a lot better about things, and I definitely, in capital letters, want to stay in touch when we are all back home too. Another one, he says, trust me, I bet we have a lot in common. If you can sneak out without waking anyone, then defo come meet me. I'm always up every night. I would say tonight, but I need to crack on with editing first. If you're awake in an hour or two, otherwise tomorrow or the next day. I'm always up every night until late while everyone else is asleep, and often go for late night walks around the place. If you're awake and about in a nighttime, come meet me. Then he says, you're like mega pretty, and you just come across as super fun. How do you not have a ton of boyfriends back home, making you feel like the most special person on earth? Virtual hug received, but only a real life one will do. Missy. So those are a handful of the things that Chris was tweeting Jess, the 16-year-old. whilst she was alone in her hotel room at Disney, which is really, really bad. So don't forget that. If nothing else, that is off the charts bad. The next person we're going to be focusing on is Hayley, who was a 21-year-old fan, and yes, obviously it's above the age of consent, so it was 2 consenting adults, but it just goes to show that Chris will take advantage of his fans, and this one in particular was fairly vulnerable, as we'll read on in a second. So this is again Hayley in her own words. She wrote it out, the sequence of events, and posted it. So we're going to take a quick look through this before moving on to the actual evidence that she posted. She says, I first started watching the Ingham family vlogs about 2 years ago, I think. The first video I watched was Isabel's birthday camping trip, and I watched every day since then. But I liked Chris's skating videos when I found out he also went skating with friends. I used to skate when I was younger and wanted to get back into it. So I sent a tweet asking if a 21-year-old girl could learn to skate, and he replied saying, heck yes they can. I then tweeted again asking what skates I could get to start out with, and he told me that he would send me a direct message later on that day, which he did. We got talking on there and he gave me his number, but soon after that he went on to message me through his own Twitter account instead of the main family one. We were talking about meeting up, and then he started getting a bit weird, saying I'd need to leave my best pants at home because they would only get ruined. He also said we could have a party in the bath in the hotel, naked. I thought he was just messing about, and I wasn't even sure it was him or not because it seemed so out of character. He then asked if we could talk on Snapchat and made me delete all the Twitter messages because if Sarah found out, he would be done. I made him show me that it was actually him I was talking to, and he sent me a personalized Snapchat video saying my name and how gorgeous I was. I was going through a really tough time with my mental health and my sexuality, and he said he would help me out with that and told me to book a visit to Leeds as I needed a friend. So I booked it, and he spoke to me every single night leading up to my trip. He said he would tell Sarah he was going to go skating with the boys for his birthday. So Chris and Hayley hooked up in July of 2017, and they kept in touch for quite a while after that, as you can see from these messages here. This is Hayley in September 2017. She says, hey dude, I'm worried about you, I hope you're okay. Chris replies, yo, here if you're awake. Hayley says, I can't deal with this. Chris replies, you can't deal with what? And as we're going to find out, Hayley was going through a tough time. She was actually missing Chris. I'm not quite sure why, you know. Anyway, she goes on to say, I'm in bits. I've lost literally everything in life. I just can't cope with it anymore. You made me so happy, probably the happiest I had been. I felt like I had a friend. I know you can't help being busy all of the time, but I've no one else to keep me going. And Chris replied, you do have a friend. I think you're epic. Don't ever doubt that. I have a lot on is all, so sometimes when I'm overloaded I compartmentalize my days by staying away from my DMs because they're crazy. My accounts get hundreds of new messages every day. It's a huge pressure sometimes that I just need to get away from what's been happening in your life. So it sounds like Hayley was going through a lot of mental anguish and possibly confusion because Chris is apparently ignoring her. I don't have any friends. I've lost them all. I've just been so depressed and upset right now. I actually do want to quit life because I can't deal with it anymore. I don't get out of the house. I work here as well, so it doesn't help. I don't feel like I'll ever settle down with anyone, because when I fall for someone, they are either taken or it's the wrong time or they don't like me, etc, etc. Just life is shit, and right now I have tablets in front of me and generally I couldn't give a shit. Now, clearly, Hayley is going through a lot, right? And she's saying how she's got tablets in front of her and she basically wants to end it all. And Chris, in his infinite wisdom, does something that is fairly common amongst Chris Ingham, right? Because he, as we'll find out as time goes on, this is something that he does a lot. So instead of getting Hayley the help that she needs and trying to talk her down in the situation, this is what Chris comes up with. He says, honestly, babe, if things are that bad, do something about it, not tablets. Either just get through it, save your money and go travel, like I said, because that will open up your eyes and your world like you wouldn't believe, especially the people you'll meet doing so. Or save a little and move. Come live down here. I would love to chill with you regular. You're just too far away to do so. So basically he's saying either, right, as a, you know, coping mechanism, I guess, I don't know, instead of getting her the help, you know, giving her helplines to call and things like that, he says go traveling or come down and meet me and live near us and we can regularly have sex, you know, that sort of thing. It's that's Chris Ingham's way of dealing with situations, trying to help people out, you know. I mean, he is like an actual guru, I think. Save some money and go travel, meet amazing new people that will open up a whole new world to you, and forget all the dicks and retards. That's that's a Chris Inghamism, you know, that make you feel low like this. You'll always have a best friend in me, and I'll always be here to chat to or to hang out with if you're down here. You should move down here, you know, fresh start and all that. Set your business up here. I'll bring Prinny and we can hang out a lot. So if you don't know, Hayley was a dog groomer, ironically, right? A groomer. So, yeah, she goes on to say, you don't know what my home life is like, Chris. It sucks big time. I'm not trying to be selfish or anything like that. I just genuinely can't cope with life and just want it to end. I may well be young, but everyone my age is now getting married and are settling down. It makes me think, what am I doing wrong? She also says, you told me not to fall for you and I'm sorry, but I have. I don't know what to do anymore. I still want to see you. Just wish I could hug you right now and make all this go away. Would literally save me. So as you can see, it sounds very much like she is totally infatuated with Chris. They'd already had sex at this point. This was months later. She was still pursuing him because he took advantage of her in a vulnerable state, and she's now infatuated with him, and he didn't have any intention of, you know, being with her whatsoever. Chris said, book a ticket and come to Leeds soon then. And Hayley said, you still want to see me? And Chris replied, of course I do. So there's that. Then we get on to the aftermath of the events after Jess came out with her allegations. So when Jess put out her information, Hayley contacted Jess privately about it and told her her story, but Chris had a reaction and contacted Hayley herself and said this. He said, this is deadly serious, so listen and think carefully. Another IFAM, meaning Jess, has messaged me saying that you told them about when we met and that we slept together. Now, do you remember the agreement that you signed on that day? The one where I could legally sue you for £250,000 and you could face serious legal problems if you spoke to anyone about it. Now, for now, it's okay because I have told this particular iFam that it's not true. So she isn't going to take it any further. But you can't speak to her and tell her that I have spoken to you about it because she hasn't directly told me that it was you, and told me the story of what happened when we met. So it has to have been you. Please realize that you can't tell anyone this stuff ever. So the story goes that Chris made this young lady, Haley, sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement to the value of £250,000. He made her sign it on the back of a napkin. That was actually true. And apparently she's not allowed to say anything, but she has, and now can be sued legally, but has never been sued. So take from that what you will. He went on to say, you could destroy my family and my business if anyone told Sarah things like that. I want to hang out and be chill, but I can't ever if I can't trust you. So can I trust you to never speak of that to anyone again? You especially can't ever tell iFam. Jeez. That will destroy our whole image and everything. And if Sarah finds out, my life's done. Promise me you'll never tell anyone. Interesting that he's talking very much there about his business and his public image, because that's more important to him than his family, clearly. But yep, that actually happened. Now, if you were under any illusion whether or not this is actually true, obviously he's admitting it there, so it's fairly obvious that it's true, but Sarah herself has admitted it, that it is actually true. She admitted it to her best friend at the time, Nikki. So Sarah said to Nikki, I didn't even find out until later it was true, and it's not exactly something you want to start telling people, is it? My husband got pissed and cheated on me. We dealt with it as a couple at the time, and now it's over with, and I didn't want it all bringing back up again. It was over 2 years ago it happened, and it's really not something I want to start having to think about again, especially not when I'm on holiday. Anyway, I'm not pissed off with you. Let me know when you're free. So, as you can see there, Sarah is admitting to her friend, who is no longer a friend, that she was cheated on by Chris. So the next piece of evidence we have is an anonymous iFam. She is allegedly 17 years of age at the time of the allegations, or at the time that it happened, and she contacted Jess after Jess came out with the allegations and told her story. So we're going to go through it in her own words and followed by some screenshots. So this is what this person says to Jess. Hi hun, I've read all the tweets about what happened with Chris, and as soon as I read this, I wanted to find your account immediately and speak to you. I went to Florida during the same time they did and you did, and I met them all. But before, during and after, he kept saying the same things you said he had said. He kept asking to go skinny dipping and for me to give him my villa address, or go to the beach with him at 2 a.m. I genuinely can't even watch their videos anymore because I watched them because I loved how close-knit and how lovely they were as a family. But it's put me off massively. I even have his personal number that he gave me to message him. The fact that he's giving out his phone number to basically children is just ridiculous in the extreme. I don't have a clue what he was thinking, although I think we can all guess exactly what he was thinking. So let's get on to the screenshots of what Chris has been saying to this young girl and see exactly what another kind of sleaze he is. So part of this conversation isn't here, but this is what Chris has said. He goes, secret nighttime, a rude boy / girling it around in the convertible. Shit girl, this gonna be dangerous. Rude boy girl. Don't even know where to begin with that. Anyway, this girl, she replies with quite a sensible reply, if I may say so. She says, my boyfriend's moved into his uni accommodation, so we'll have a whole day just wandering the streets unaware. But maybe it's not quite as sensible as I thought. But she mentions that she's got a boyfriend, so that is a good thing because that is important, you know, in these situations. Always tell the predator that you have a boyfriend. Chris goes on to say, man, I'll show you some epic places on a night time if you're up for it. I spent a lot of time there a few years back and I know some mega places. She says, you're going to get sick of me most likely, and Chris replies, you should get a tattoo with me out there. I'm getting a ton done, and the place I'm going to is only open in the evenings and night time, so you can come with. Chris goes on to say, you're gonna be my new best mate. Oh yes. Now, apologies for the quality of the next screenshot. It's not mine. Chris says, yo, random, but keep this to yourself. But I have always wanted a camp to camp a night outdoors in Kissimmee. There's this beautiful camp place where you have a fire and a drink and chill and watch the stars. Get takeout Denny's and that. Ha. I did it with my best mate a few years ago and no one wants to do it with me. You should come do this with me, dude. It would be well fun. You wouldn't believe the stars at night. It's insane. And again, she's very sensible in her response here. She says, it sounds lovely. Would Sarah and the girls not do it? So basically reminding him that he has a wife and family, right? As well as telling him that she has a boyfriend. So all those things are clear signs, Christopher, to back off, right? Anybody knows that. And also anybody knows not to inappropriately message young girls like this. But there you go. Such is life, isn't it, Chris? Now this is about 2 weeks later. Chris gives her his mobile phone number and he says, this is happening, and she replies, is that your number, pal? Cool. Chris replies, course mate, and she says, I'll text you, I won't bug you by the way. And Chris says, you can bug me all you want, I'm gonna now I have your number. And it gives her a heart, which, yeah, could be seen as being inappropriate. But then again, all this conversation is inappropriate anyway. But he now has her number as well, don't forget. She says she's in a villa about 10 minutes away from Magic Kingdom. Chris says, perfect, we're right next to MK. It's on. And this is when they're actually at Disney. This was like a month later or something like that. And Chris says, safe flight, gorgeous. Looking forward to meeting you. She says, I'm excited. Been watching your videos for over a year. Chris says, you're amazing and defo gonna look fit as fuck in your mini ears. I think we'll just leave it at that, shall we? I don't really need to say any more. Although, Chris does have more to say, so let's have a look to see what he has to say. So they're now messaging through WhatsApp because they've exchanged phone numbers and they can do that now. Chris says, I'm just left of the castle waiting for it. You're a pussy for not coming skinny dipping with me. She replies, I'm on the right, it's Ace. I'm not keen, prefer swimming costumes. Chris replies, okay, deal, costumes it is. How good was that? She replies, like Typhoon Lagoon, you should come tomorrow, OMG. And Chris replies, don't want you getting too excited anyways, so costumes is best. She replies, "What are you on about, you absolute melon?" And Chris replies, "You getting giddy at me being naked?" And she replies, "I know, I was only joking." Gotta save his, his feelings and everything. I respect this girl for that, alright? Gotta save Chris's feelings. Obviously, he believes that people just get giddy at the sight of him being naked, right? So another exchange goes, "Where are you?" says Chris. She says, "Waiting for the last parade." And Chris says, "Legit fit as fuck, mate." Oh, come on. And she says, "Oh, gosh, no way." And it doesn't stop there, unfortunately. Chris says, "We should go skinny dip." He seems to have an obsession with skinny dipping, doesn't he? And she says, "On my way home now, just leaving." Thank fuck for that, isn't it? For her sake and her safety. "Lovely meeting you. You could put our selfie on your Instagram." And then she said, "My Insta is this." And Chris says, "If you promise to skinny dip with me." One last effort, wasn't it, Chris? One last go. It was worth the try, but sadly you did not get your skinny dipping session from either girl that was at Disney that particular time you were there. So that in and of itself was pretty disgusting. I don't think I have to explain to you why it's so disgusting, but it actually was. The amount of times that he tried his best to try. I mean, that particular grooming exercise lasted from the 19th of August right the way through to the end of October, 28th or later of October. It was about 2 months. That's the very definition of a grooming, playing a long game. It's a grooming exercise, and he should be ashamed of himself. Now, on to the next one, which is Chloe. Right, Chloe was a 19-year-old girl at the time of the allegations, and hers is a particularly sad story. Chris's mother passed on Chloe to Chris in some sort of pimping out exercise, right? So the story on this one goes, Chloe was speaking to Jane Ingham, who is Chris's mother, as part of like the IFAM Defense League or Support League or whatever the fuck the IFAM is, right? So they were talking, and Chloe mentioned to Jane how bad her mental health was, and Jane said, "Chris, here's one for you," basically. That pretty much that. I think it was maybe not in quite those words, but yeah. She passed Chloe on to Chris. That's actually true. So Chris says this: "Damn girl, you'll have to let me buy your coffee soon, and you can tell me all about it. I hate people suffering inside, especially because I have been there, so I know how hard it is. Sometimes people just need a good friend that can help them realize how special they are. So you'll have to come say hey and buy me a coffee." Ha. Keep that quiet though, obviously that's between you and I, especially about my mental health too. Obviously you don't want people getting caught wind of the fact that Chris Ingham might be human. No, he is a superstar in his own right. That's the way he wants it to come across, at least. Chloe mentions about going to Scarborough for the week, and Chris says, "Sick, that will be well fun. I love a bit of scarbs. I'll have to catch you when you're back after then." Chloe says, "Are you enjoying your holiday?" And Chris replies, "Yeah, it's been amazing so far, thank you. Way too hot though. Ha, if that's even possible. Melting. What's you doing with your weekend? Are you on Snapchat? DeLong official is his Snapchat. It was, obviously. It's not anymore since the allegations, right? So he's no longer on there. It's not allowed on there. Or is he still on there? Who knows? Possibly, probably. Anyway, then comes Chloe posts a picture of herself in a hoodie, and Chris has this to say: "Are you kidding me? You're nowhere near fat, girl. You're perfect. Trust me, you're stunning." So they then take the conversation over to Snapchat, and of course, if you know anything about Snapchat, there's only a handful of reasons why one would do that. Chris says, "Sup, dude? Right, snap me without that baggy hood on. Boom!" And Chloe says, "Why?" Chris says, "So I can prove to you you're not fat. Girl, what part of you is fat anyway? You're stunning, literally gorgeous. You should be so buzzing with that figure and your face." Chloe replies, "Thank you so much. You and your family are so cute." And Chris replies, "Thank you. Trust though, like, don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise. You should be rocking that coat and hoodie off all the time and showing off that figure." Chloe replies, "Oh, you literally make me smile." So continuing the conversation, Chloe said that basically she's fine, but she had a down day yesterday. Could really have put herself in hospital, but she's feeling fine now. So that doesn't sound good. And as Chris pointed out, it doesn't sound good. He says, in fact, "That doesn't sound good, hun. You know, I know you'll probably never take it, but the offer of a mate is always here." This is one of the most disgusting things that Chris has ever done. Amongst of everything else that he has actually done, this is one of the worst things that he has ever done. This girl is in dire straits. She is suicidal, basically. And Chris, in his infinite wisdom, has offered Chloe a shoulder to cry on. The offer of a mate is always there. Hanging out with someone as chill as I am might do you the world of good. I always need peeps up for coming and filming me skate. So, somebody, yet again, and we've been through this with Haley earlier on, yet again, somebody, a young girl, has come to Chris and said that they are in like mental anguish to the point where they are suicidal, and his response is not to point her in the direction of any helplines or get her actual help or help her get to actual help. His response is, "Come and meet me. It'll do you good mentally to meet somebody as chill as I am." Just let that one sink in a second before we move on. Chloe goes on to say that basically she was sat near a bridge and she was contemplating, jumping off basically. And Chris's response to that was absolutely unbelievable, although we really should not give him the credit that he deserves, and maybe we should expect this from him. He had the following to say as a solution to Chloe's mental problems. He says, "Come hang out then, you absolute douche, and make things better in your life by having a chill AF mate like me, who's going to an indoor skate park Wednesday. We're going to an indoor skate park on Wednesday. Come with us. It's a right laugh, and we can have a chiller chat, and you can film me some clips." So again, Chris's response and his solution to all her problems is to come out and meet him and be with him and most likely hook up with him. That's basically what he's thinking in his head, and it's disgusting, to be honest. To use a clearly vulnerable person in that way is absolutely disgusting, and vulnerable people can be of any age. Chloe at the time was 18, 19, and it was, even people older than that can be vulnerable. You can be vulnerable at 50 or 60, right? If you use somebody for your own personal gain, that's disgusting in any way, shape or form. Now, the situation with Chloe actually ended up a bit strange because Chloe is so vulnerable and impressionable that she eventually forgave Chris or Sarah. She went to Sarah and apologized. Now, we've been through the messages there. the exchange between them. There's nothing for her to apologize for, and yet she was made to feel like she needed to apologize, and she did. She forgave them, apologized, and made up and became an IFAM again. I don't know what she's doing now, but that was what actually happened at the time. So now we're on to the next one, and we're going to talk about Bella. Now, Bella, I don't think was regarded as vulnerable, but she was an IFAM. She was 19 at the time, and they met in Alton Towers. That's the one that they met in Alton Towers, who worked at Alton Towers at the time. And it goes like this. So you may have seen the, what is at this point a meme, right, of Chris saying, drop that towel and resend. That is what he actually sent to Bella. This is the girl behind the yeah, this particular one, right? Bella, he sent it to, and some of the messages that he sent to her were particularly bad. Now, they met in Alton Towers. She was a fan and asked if she could meet them, and they said yes. They got a picture taken with her, with all the family, but afterwards Chris tracked her down on Instagram and started messaging her, and they had an exchange of messages. So Chris said, I'm gonna have to teach you a thing or two. Ha! He likes to say ha, doesn't he? Then it's just small talk basically here. Then Bella says, how was your stay at Alton Towers? Chris replied, yo, speaking of that, just been checking out your Insta. You got better abs and thighs than me. And I train mine hard, dude. You need to tell me your secret. Bella replied, thanks so much. And Chris said, exactly. The person I met this morning inspired me. That's why I emailed you. Number one, immediately off the bat, you struck me as someone who looks after themselves well. You looked super tidy, perfect hair, brows, and you held yourself together really well. And was super lovely. P.S. I'm gonna rant a little now, so if I'm pushing too much, just tell me it's all good. Anyways, then when I saw your Instagram feed and realised you're the real deal, like you clearly look after yourself well, and you're clearly determined AF. I hope you don't mind me saying, but you have a banging body and you're super good looking. Something that most girls and women would find a role model in, especially with that six-pack and thighs. And then a winky tongue out emoji nonsense thing, right? Anyways, bottom line, I like you. And I like helping people. And I have the powers and the people to help you turn yourself into a massive role model to thousands on Instagram. And maybe even YouTube too. So we should have some serious chats. Random question. Have you ever had a dude come on to you at work, like when you're cleaning a room or anything like that? Something I always wondered about hotel workers, like propositioned you to come in to join him in his room. Ha! Oh, he's a card, isn't he? Bella replied, nope, never. And I'm glad. That was just a very inappropriate question, Chris, as you know. So that was 19-year-old Bella at the time, and she became famed for having the drop your towel and resend meme sent to her. Anyway, that is yet another girl. Shall we move on to another one? And this one is it's not a grooming situation, this one, but it just shows Chris's level of manipulation in the whole Newbie scandal, right? Those of you who remember will know that Newbie were a company who gifted the Inghams some products as a baby product type thing, right? And somebody messaged Newbie, well actually a lot of people probably messaged Newbie to warn them of the Inghams, right? And that's when all hell broke loose. So this person said, "Hi, I understand you gifted a breast pump and dummy sterilizer to the Ingham family. I was wondering if you were aware that Chris Ingham groomed teenage girls recently. He asked one girl to go skinny dipping and another to send naked photos. The messages were confirmed to be real by the police. I just wanted to inform you and warn you may get backlash for this. Lots of people are angry about what Chris has done and that the family continue to be gifted things. I would suggest you seriously consider doing research before you gift people your products to influencers in the future." So Newbie replied to this and said, "Hi, thank you for getting in touch. This was brought to our attention recently. We are taking the matter very seriously and I confirm we do not support any inappropriate behaviour from our brand representatives. We will investigate the claims made against Chris Ingham and take the necessary action. Thanks, Emma." So what happened next was actually beyond belief, and it shows Chris Ingham's level of manipulation, especially when he thinks that he's talking to women or young girls or whatever, right? He will go for whatever he wants and doesn't matter who gets in his way. So this message was sent to the person who originally sent the message to Newbie. Chris on Facebook posted a screenshot of the conversation that this person had sent to Newbie, and the question arose of how did Chris get a hold of the screenshot from Newbie in the first place. Chris was quoting the Malicious Communications Act and just basically threatening the person concerned, but what he wasn't realizing by doing this, people weren't concerned about that particular aspect. People were more concerned about how Chris got the screenshot of a conversation which was a private DM from the company. This tweet clarified things. Just to clarify, the message sent to Newbie was a DM and Chris Ingham should not have ever seen it. The girl did not share the message with anyone else. The only way Chris could have seen it is if Newbie sent it to him, and that was the issue, and that led to this response. Newbie replied, "Hi, thanks for replying to my message. First of all, I want to apologise for one of my staff sharing your details. We take any breach of data protection seriously and the person in question has been disciplined. She has apologised and wanted to pass on her sincere apologies to you. By no way is this an excuse, but when we received your original message, we followed this up with Mr. Ingham. She was told that there was a police investigation and was asked to provide details of the person who contacted us at the request of the police. She acted on the spur of the moment, thinking she was doing the right thing at the request of the police. I am following this up with the police officer involved to validate exactly what was said and requested." So basically, Chris has manipulated a young worker at Newbie into providing details which breached the data protection, claiming that there was a police investigation and subsequently having this particular worker fired. So Chris, in his trail of destruction, this worker has absolutely nothing to do with anything trolling or otherwise, and yet Chris just barges in there and has the audacity to have the end result, which was this worker to be fired. Obviously, she could have not given details over, which she shouldn't have done in the first place. That's, 101 of working with data, right? But Chris is master manipulator, and he got the details out of a poor worker who ended up getting fired. This person, by the way, contacted the police here. Spoke to the police earlier. They couldn't find any report from Chris of the messages sent last week, and there is apparently no harassment case. Someone has been telling a very lot of lies. That just clarifies the fact that there was no police investigation anyway. And yeah, Chris is manipulating to high heaven in this particular case. Now, the last one we're going to touch upon is not quite Chris himself, but it does relate to the whole situation and the fact that Chris is even a thing in the first place, and that is Jane Ingham, who is the original groomer, the granny groomer as she has been dubbed in the past, and we're going to touch on how she groomed some fans into doing her dirty work for her. So this is the story of a girl called Charlie. She was 16 at the time when she met Jane Ingham, right? And this is in her own words. She says, I had a fan account for the Inghams from February 2017 until February 2019. I remember the first time Jane Ingham replied back to one of my DMs. I felt so special. I was like, OMG, my idols have noticed me, etc. From that reply, we started chatting a lot more. I felt so amazed that a member of the Ingham family wanted to interact with me. We soon started messaging every day, and it was a best time. 16-year-old me, who was obsessed with the Ingham family, was getting to talk to Jane Ingham every day. Like, for me, at that time, it was the best feeling. I would go to Jane for advice, and she would offer me support. She would also tell me stuff about the Inghams that no one else knew, and I had to keep secret. But she told me because I was special and she trusted me. Can you imagine how honoured I felt knowing stuff that no other iFam knew about our idols? Amazing, right? Jane called me her best friend and always said she loved me. For me, this was an amazing feeling. I myself do not have a close relationship with my nan, so for me it was like having my own iFam nan, which Jane used to her advantage clearly. After months and months of talking, me and Jane were so close. Well, I thought we was, and she gave me her number and said we could talk on WhatsApp instead of Instagram. Again, can you imagine how special I felt? She sometimes used to message me when she was having grief with other iFam and would ask me to message them and sort it. And I, of course, did, as I wanted to help Jane and be there for her. At this time, I did not think this was wrong, as all I was doing was helping her out, right? This soon became a regular occurrence, and I myself became involved in a lot of beef within the iFam. I'm sure loads of iFam accounts can vouch for this. Some of the time it was because I put myself in that situation, but other times it was because I was helping Jane out. A few days before my 17th birthday, so January 2018, I received a package which I straight away knew was iFam merch because I recognised the packaging. I was thinking to myself, who sent me merch, because I hadn't asked my mum for it at all. At this point in time, I had a group chat with my best friend who I made through the iFam and Jane. More about this group chat later on. I sent a picture to our group chat and was like, I'm so confused. Jane replied back with, open it. I did, and it was a red iFam hoodie. I sent a picture of it to the group chat and Jane replied back saying, happy birthday, Charlie. Bit early, but I hope you like it. It soon became apparent that Jane had sent me this merch. I was over the moon. Not only had I received free merch, but it had to be sent to me by Jane Ingham. Obviously, back then, I did not realise how Jane was using me and sending me this free stuff to keep me happy. There was another time where I was also sent free wristbands. I was also always promised guaranteed tickets to their meet and greets. Now, about this group chat I had with my friend Molly and Jane. I'm pretty sure it was Jane's idea to create this group chat, as she called me and Molly her favourites. The group chat was originally named Jane's Favourites, but it got changed to the Three Musketeers. Again, in this group chat, we would talk to Jane daily, and she would support us when we was upset, and we would do the same, and we would get told secret info, Me and Molly loved having this group chat. We felt so special. Little did we know how easily manipulated we were. I don't know if people will remember when Dave was dating Sarah Elise. That's Dave, that's Chris's brother, in case you didn't realise that. Was dating Sarah Elise. But when they broke up, Jane straight away started telling us stories about what went on and how me and Molly can no longer associate ourselves with Sarah A or talk to her. Of course, we followed Jane's order and distanced ourselves from Sarah A. We were made to hate her, and I'm appalled I let this happen because Sarah A is actually a lovely person and I know how much she helped Molly with her mental health. Molly did follow Jane's order like me to start with, but slowly started talking to Sarah A again, but obviously didn't tell Jane. Jane found out, and this is where Jane started to try and ruin mine and Molly's friendship. Jane would tell me to stay away from Molly and not to talk to her if she was associating herself with Sarah A. And she would say nasty things about Molly to me also. Me and Molly soon discovered that Jane was doing this to both of us and bitching about us to each other, but then making out we're all best friends. I honestly can't believe how much Jane got me to do and how easily I would just do it. There was a time when Jane had disabled her Instagram account. I think she had fallen out with Chris and Sarah and was trying to make a point. She soon WhatsApped me and asked me if I could start up a campaign on Instagram called #GetJaneBack. I of course did and was straight away on this campaign. She was also asking me to DM Chris and Sarah on Twitter asking to bring Jane back, and she was getting me to get the iFam to repost this hashtag. It was so demanding, but I of course did it because Jane asked me to. It honestly upsets me how easily I would do things for Jane, but the worst has to be when she literally made me troll Chris's victims. Yeah, let that sink in a second. Jane Ingham got other iFam to troll Chris's victims for her. Yep. When Jess first posted her tweets about Chris, Jane was straight away messaging me asking if I could message Jess and get her to remove them as it was all lies. I again of course did this, and I'm so ashamed that I did. I wasn't given time to think for myself or form an opinion myself about whether any of this was true or not, because Jane was feeding me with so much info about why it was all lies. As soon as any new tweet or post was made that was proving the Inghams were guilty, Jane would straight away be messaging me asking if I could comment this or message someone that, and I'm actually appalled at myself that I did. I'm now 18 and have recently read back through all my messages with Jane, and it's clear to see that she was manipulating me and getting me to do things for her, and I would do all of this because I was made to feel special and I was sent free things. I'm so upset with myself that I let this happen, and I'm so appalled at myself for being so naive to it. It's clear this family is manipulative, and I know for a fact my friend Molly was in the same situation as me, and I'm sure there is other iFam with similar experiences. So I encourage you to speak up. I was so scared of saying something in case Jane sees it or the Inghams and I get hate. So that's basically Charlie's story. Now we're going to go through one or two screenshots which she posted which show all of this in some sort of order. Let's have a look at those. So this is in the group chat, and this is when Charlie posted her hoodie that she was received from Jane, and this is Jane's response. She says, "Happy birthday, Charlie, bit early but I hope you like it, love you lots," and there's all the kisses, hearts, etc. Now, you know, she is what, a 60-year-old woman sending all these hearts and kisses to a 17-year-old young vulnerable fan. Now, put the shoe on the other foot. If that was a man doing that, all hell would have broken loose, right? Same thing, but it's clear that she's trying to manipulate the situation for her own gain. Charlie replied, OMG Jane, thanks so much, honestly so excited to finally have merch, love you so much. Jane replied, love you more, are you sure that's okay? And then a heart, right? So love you more, I mean, none of that is acceptable. So Jane commented here, I get to help choose lots of things. And Charlie replied, what do you mean? Jane says, well, I'm sure that my bestie will defo get tickets to meet and greets, for instance. And Charlie replied, OMG, yay. You know, I mean, Jane replies, I know, heart and heart emojis. And Charlie says, that's so exciting for you and me. Jane says, it really is exciting, love. And Charlie says, I'm going to spam the emails to annoy you. So Charlie says, are you sending the wristbands? Jane says, yes, love. And then shows the checkout for... Bizarrely, she actually had to buy them, I think, off the Inghams. I'm sorry, that's just weird, right? Just send them if you're part of the Ingham family. Just get a handful and send them. She actually had to buy them off the iPhone store, I think. Weird. I know. Anyway, she showed the checkout and to prove that she had bought the wristbands and they were on the way. And yeah, there we go. That is Grooming 101. So Charlie says here, I've been at a dance show and had no signal, so I literally opened the message and didn't have time to read it or even reply. Jane says, is her mum away? And yep, what's the matter with her then? Charlie says, got my wristbands, thank you. Jane says, awesome. Have you spoken to Molly? Charlie says, no, love. She sent a message to ask if I'm okay because she hasn't spoken for a while. That is all. Jane says here, hi love, feeling like I'm neglecting you, but I promise I'm not. Just trying to get things sorted with my new role and it's taking up so much time right now. Just remember that you are my bestie and I will always be here. Love you lots and lots, and all the heart emojis as well. That's, I don't have to tell you just how inappropriate that is from Jane to send to a 17-year-old. Yeah, but you know, grooming is grooming, right? Charlie says here, love you. Jane replies with a heart and then says, can't tell you how amazing you are. You're the best friend to Molly and the best friend to me. I must drive you mad with all my drama recently. Anyway, just to let you know how much I appreciate your support and your love. Big, big hugs and then a heart again, right? Hi my faves, sorry I can't get on here right now. I have a house full of Inghams and can't get on my phone. Love you lots, and more heart emojis. Charlie replied, tell them all I said hi and I hope you're all having a nice evening. Jane says, will do, feeling super stressed. Another comment from Jane, she says, that's a triple pinky promise. A chicky? That's a That's a triple pinky promise, yes? Yep. Oh, yes, agree. Jane says, you both sleep well and love you both millions. Charlie says, love you both. And Molly says, I love you millions. Charlie, I need your help. Look at this Twitter post and then comment by Tegan Jade under it. I need to know who she is. Why is she stirring things for me? Another one, Charlie Hun, can you be detective and find out for me what information Amanda had to tell Sarah last night about the leak of the holiday venue? It's just that when people are telling her it was so-and-so, since she was the one who brought it up in the group chat. However, that poor girl says that she was told by someone else from the IFAM. Just wondered, love you lots. So Jane is also saying here, I think about Jess. Tell her to take it down. She will ruin him and that's what she wants to do. DM her, not publicly. She's a hoax and I don't know where from. Charlie replied, what pic is she on about on his profile? Anyway, it's this person and that's the Jess picture that Chris had on his profile. Jane says, DM her. Charlie says, you know, on her post she said about someone supporting her and shit. Reckon it's anything to do with our fam? Jane says, I don't know, but it's got to be stopped, but on DM, not openly. Charlie says, yeah, I'm talking to her at the moment. I'm just being nice. Tell her to take it down. I can't yet. I need to build up to it. Then she goes on to have this, this was all about the Bring Jane Back campaign. Jane took herself away because she had a falling out with the Inghams. She said they will find out how actually they will find out now. Actually, they won't, because I will be forgotten in a day. You need a campaign. Get Jane back. Yes, start a campaign. And Charlie says, yes, okay, I'm going to do it. Jane says, I've left because I've been bullied, so start a Get Jane Back campaign. That will show them. And Charlie mocked up a hashtag Get Jane Back campaign. Jane says, you will be able to spam Sarah and Chris on Twitter to ask them where I've gone. Bet everyone will forget me in a day. You will not be forgotten. Literally everyone is so upset you've gone. If only you could see. Well, just make sure that the Inghams know that. Then maybe they will see what they are accusing me of is so wrong. And Charlie says they will definitely see it on Instagram. Send me anything interesting, any interesting screenshots. Jane says, listen, if Sarah asks you if you're in contact with me, say no, okay? Or Chris, is that okay? And Charlie says, yeah, of course. They wouldn't ask me anyway, would they? No, not likely. Charlie, someone has mentioned that hate page as well as the fakes on Twitter. The fakes are fine. Talking about the hate page, he will flip again and say, see what are you doing for someone to hate you? OMG, who was it? I'll get them to delete it. Don't know. Can't see properly. Dave messaged me. The campaign is still fine though to make me come back, so keep that campaign on there and Instagram. I want Sarah and Chris to realise what they made me do and that I'm not an embarrassment to them. Cannot believe he said that. Actually, I haven't left you to hate, and I don't want them to think that I'm hated. I left because I was being bullied by the fake accounts and got fed up. Charlie says, oh Jane, I love you so much. Jane says, tell whoever that I left cause of fake accounts bullying me, not hate ones at all. Whoever wrote that has made it worse now. That's why Sarah will have said that. Oh shit. So that's basically the story of Jane and her manipulation of Charlie and Molly, right? But there's one more thing that we need to just touch on very quickly. After the allegations came out, there was a woman on YouTube called Wilkes. Some of you may remember her. She was doing a lot of videos about grooming and things like that. Now, Jane was so desperate to get that Wilkes woman's address that she messaged an IFAM who lived close by and got her to, remember this as a child, got a child to release the information, the address of the Wilkes woman. That's right. This is what she said. Hey love, I see from your post that you have been talking to Ellie Wilkes, which is a Wilkes woman's daughter. Do you have an address for her? It's very important and it's for the Inghams and it's secret. It would really help them. Sorry to ask you. And this IFAM child says, yes, I have her address. I live in her street. Jane says, Sarah asked me to ask you as she trusts you implicitly. Obviously, that's a fucking lie, right? This IFAM says, okay, do you want her address? Jane says, yes, please. And please don't tell anyone. It's very important. Thank you. So this IFAM child gave Jane the address of this other child, the Wilkes lady's child, the address, right? That actually did happen. That is master manipulation of the highest order. So if you ever think, how did Chris get where he is now? Just look at his mother, Jane, who is shameless in every single way. So that has been the story of how Chris Ingham has gotten away with what he's done by doing exactly what he has done. That is everything. Well, that is just the tip of the iceberg surrounding the allegations and various other bits of manipulation. There are so many more little bits and pieces that fit into this entire story, but this is the starting point. If ever you need to know what is going on with the Inghams and why Chris is universally hated, just look at this. This video is where you need to start. Tell your friends this video is where you need to be for information, right? So until next time, please give this video a massive thumbs up. It's taken a lot of work and effort to get everything collated in some sort of coherent order. Please comment all of your thoughts about it down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Until next time, take care of yourselves and bye bye.